So yeah, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, your home university, and where are we going today? Where did you study abroad? Take it away.
Yes, of course. Well, my name is Carla Barnes, and I currently go to Texas Tech University. I'm currently a junior, and in summer 2019, in the transition between my freshman and sophomore year, I studied abroad in Prague, Czech Republic. I absolutely love it. I loved it so much. And as a political science major and with a history minor, I really enjoyed Prague. You know, it's Central Europe. You can do so much, explore so much. The history is so rich. And I just truly enjoyed my stay there. And it was the best decision that I have ever made in my entire life. And I truly mean that. I found myself, I found new friends, and I felt like I found my purpose in life a little bit. It sounds a little bit funny, but I definitely found like my way navigating through being on a different country on my own, which I really enjoyed.
You understand it. I understand it. Anybody who's watching and sharing this with us today, who's been abroad, is like, oh yeah, no, I get it. It's not a cheesy thing to say. And you said you're a political science major, correct?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So did you we'll just jump right into classes, because summer programs, guys, are not considered full-term semesters. Longevity is much shorter. You're not missing any fall or spring term semesters at your home university, which could be a benefit for some cases. I know some students are like, ooh, FOMO. If I go for a full term semester, I'm going to miss out on activities, obligations, things of that nature. Did you choose a summer term for those reasons, because you had obligations at your home university and this was a good way to go about it? What were the reasons you chose a summer term?
Honestly, it was a personal preference for me, and I studied the session C. So I did both summers, summer A and B, so I did both together. I think I said that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Okay. So yes, I did summer. I really enjoyed it, and I felt the weather was best for me. I really do not like the cold. There was a little bit too much heat. But overall, I chose summer just because I just loved the summer. And for courses, for me, I absolutely loved my courses. I had 3 classes that I took. One was a psycholinguistic class. The second one was a Czech history class, and the third one was a photography class. A little bit random, but I really enjoyed the classes, and it gave me a different perspective.
Random, you could say, maybe like versatile, because that's the beauty of study abroad. This is like one of the things I like try to hammer into students when they're looking at a program, is try to take courses. If you have the elective or humanities space for your track to graduation, try to take some of those courses that you've never heard of before. Humor in the Czech culture, photography, you know, like things that are a little out of your comfort zone, a little out of your major. Every now and then I'll hear a story of a student that comes back and, like, because of a course they took abroad, they've like changed their whole life path. You don't know what your interests are in that regard until you really explore. Did you have a favorite, or one that was most challenging?
Ooh, my most favorite class had to be the psycholinguistic class. Was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
But the photography class was my most favorite, just because of the fact that we literally went out into the city. We started taking pictures of every little thing, and we were learning about photography, but as well as the rich culture that is in Prague. So It was the best of both worlds for me personally.
Experiential learning. Psycholinguistics. Okay, so is that like psychology in language?
It's
like
actually
the bridge
but the way that children understand and pick up on languages. So it's just learning how a child can connect the different languages. And for me, I speak Spanish and I speak English. I know a little bit of Czech, just a very little bit.
Ahoy!
Yes, dobry den. I'm going to say dobry
den. There you go.
It was really interesting to see how the way a child mind works and how they can connect one thing to another as they're growing and developing. So that was just very, very interesting to me. And it was something I never considered I would take, like class-wise, or something I would be interested in, but I absolutely loved it.
Do you think, I mean, it's hard to kind of reflect on childhood, right, and development of like your own language skills, but do you think even in your, because you're bilingual, do you relate to a lot of the things that you learned in that course?
100%, because growing up I spoke both English and Spanish, and it was very hard for me to I remember struggling and stuttering over words, and now that I'm older and I understood the science behind it, I was just like, wow, I was pretty much mind blown. So it's actually pretty cool.
Really diverse course schedule in Prague. We've heard this from so many of our students. You're one of the many alumni ambassadors that we get to interview that did a Prague program. But whether it's a fall, a spring, or a summer, you'll have that Czech crash course, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? It's about Was it
Yeah.
about 2 weeks long for you as well in the summer term?
Well, for the summer, it was just, I want to say about a week long,
Okay.
maybe about a week, just because time was just a lot shorter for us. You know, we're
Longevity.
semester, it's a summer's term, so that way we were able to get it done in about a week, a few days, I would say. But yes, it was a pretty intensive kind of course. We had to learn a lot in a short amount of time, but I've heard also that whenever they do the semesters, it's much longer for them. So they kind of go at a slower pace, and it's a lot, easier for people to pick up. But it was very, very helpful. I learned so much, and I'm so glad that that was incorporated with the program, because if not, I would have been completely lost. I would not know how to say anything. I would not know where to go, or how to take care of myself, like in a different country and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and we interviewed Renata for the Prague program, and I think she said something in her interview along the lines of, we want to give students the tools so that if they want to order a coffee or something of that nature, you have the ability to do that. Of course, we don't expect you to communicate with the pharmacist or anything like that. Like, those are spaces and events reserved for the assistance and the guidance of the resident director staff. But they want you to kind of build your own wheels and put girth to what you're learning, for sure.
I love it because it gave me more confidence to go out, to speak to people, to try to understand a new language. And it can be difficult, but it is the best thing that AIFS has done with their programs that I love, because I know some other programs, they may not do it as long as you guys would do it. And one of the main reasons why I chose you guys as well for that.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about, local culture, right? Are locals friendly? Did you find them to be warm? Was that door kind of opened to a dialogue when you did try to speak Czech, even though it probably was not perfect? Okay, we're new to this language. Did you find that locals were receptive?
Yes. A little bit difficult to answer, honestly, because of the fact that Czech people in Prague that I came across, and in my history course that I took about Czech Republic and the Velvet Revolution and everything, they're very much reserved. So when you sit on the tram or you go in public, they're very quiet, kept to themselves, not really loud.
Sure.
And it was just different. Because, in the U.S., like, I live in Texas, and so everyone's very open, very honest. At the same time, whenever I did try to speak in Czech to them, or I tried to communicate some way, somehow, they were still able to say, okay, like, we understand. And a lot of people there, they do speak English. Yeah. And so that was also very helpful. But when they see you trying, they're also going to be like, hey, you say it like this, and maybe this way. And they try to help you out. So
critique you.
Yeah. So, like, up to them and, like, respect their space, their boundaries, and everything. They'll be more than happy to help you out. And the people there are very friendly. They're very helpful. Yes. I have been lost a few times along my way around Prague. Very guilty, but overall they're amazing and very, very comfortable in inviting people.
What you put into your program, you'll receive a little bit of that back. And I think one of the things that we haven't really discussed is, like, in the US, we're not always required to take a language. Some universities do, some high schools. I know my high school, it was more of an elective thing, and same thing in college. I wasn't required to. Every university functions a little differently, but for the most part, all of our programs collectively are countries where English is something where these younger people are taking as a class. So by the time that they're in adulthood, what have you, they're fluent or close to, because it's been something that's required of them to learn.
As long as you try to communicate with those from their country and their language, they're going to be more than happy to at least work with you, like I said earlier. So I absolutely love how they're just so friendly.
Good. Awesome. Oh, I love hearing that. Very good. So did you know from the get-go that you wanted to study in Prague? Was there something that maybe did an alumni ambassador at your university guide you towards that program? What was the caveat for you being like, okay, yeah, this is the program I want. This is where I want to study?
Honestly, I have never met anybody who has studied abroad. So studying abroad was new to me. No one in my family's ever done it. Some of my closest friends, they've never done it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it out. Like, what do I have to lose, And the more research I did about studying abroad, and my study abroad office at Texas Tech University was amazing, and I just really just went for it. My friend, her mother was from Slovakia, and I was like, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna go Central Europe. I think it's gonna be safe, and I just felt I don't know, I just felt very safe overall. I'm sorry, I just keep saying the same word, safe, safe, safe.
That's okay. It's important to feel secure. Like I said, you know, with AIFS and our staff, we have alumni ambassadors that will be, you know, very candid with you about how they felt about a program. We have field staff. Many of them have been on site to these programs. Admissions officers, they've seen the campuses. Resident directors, they are locals, they live there. Some of our resident directors are even expats, so they really empathize with students that are studying abroad for the first time. But safety is the key word of the day. I am on board with that.
That was my keyword, because, you know, it was my first time leaving the U.S. really and going to Europe and by myself for the first time, like flying to London, staying there for a few days, and then going to Prague. So it was just a different world for me, and I was terrified. But, you know, I just took a leap of faith, and I just said, hey, you know what, let's just try it out. But, you know, you have to at least try in this life and try to put yourself out there and see what's going to happen.
Be bold, just do it. Boldness is rewarded most of the time, right? So
yes, it is.
Culture shock, right? So this is your first time possibly out of the country, correct? At least in Europe.
In Europe, yes, in Europe.
Yeah. Did you have a moment that it just kind of hit you?
My first initial thought when I first landed in Prague was just, wow. Everything was so clean. It was very neat. It was different, so unique. And I just really appreciated the architecture, the history. People were so polite. They were so kind. And I was just like, whoa, this is a little bit different, you know? And people were very much so reserved to themselves. Like, they weren't talking very loud. They didn't have loud music playing. But it was still friendly and inviting. And I love that. And so the key word is just a wow.
Yeah. Culture shock doesn't always have to be like this negative, like, oh, this person yelled at me because I was crossing the street in front of their vehicle type of thing. You know, it can just be like these cotton candy colored buildings or something I've never seen before, or, you know, getting on the metro or the public transportation, the tram, I believe you have.
The tram, yes, the tram.
Heard lots of good things about the tram. We'll get into that in a second. You know, just hearing a different language on the tram, or like very different of that in the US, where you get on the tram and like it's very quiet. Like people aren't like shouting or, you know, speaking too loud, respectful of each other's spaces. So yeah, it's just, culture shock doesn't have to be a negative thing. Again, stigma that we are breaking today. Tell me a little bit about your housing. We've talked about housing before, but for summer, what does that look like? Did you have roommates? Did you have communal spaces where you met people that maybe weren't in your classes, but were in a program through Charles University?
Well, I stayed in the dorm. So were in one of the most safest neighborhoods that there is in Prague, actually, and I loved it. There was a school right down the road, very well-known school, and at the moment we were kind of undergoing construction. The great thing about AIFS was they kind of made up for it by giving us a gift card to go out to eat, and they're like, we're sorry about the construction, but hey, here's a gift card. And that was an amazing bonus. Like, I wasn't expecting anything, but it was very nice. I felt very safe. The dorm, we had our door key and we would put ourselves in. There was someone always at the front 24/7. So living in the dorm, there was 3 bedrooms, and I did have a teammate, so we had one room for ourselves, 2 beds, and another room was the exact same way, and then someone else had a solo room, and then we just shared a kitchen and the bathroom. It was amazing, and we had a game room, we had an open kitchen for all of us to use. I felt very much at home. I felt very safe, very much at home, and I absolutely loved being in the dorm because I met so many people. In the IFS programs were the only ones there. And there were some students from Charles University there as well, but for the most part, it was a majority AIFS. But also keep in mind that I did study in the summer.
And you'll meet other European nationals, locals, what have you, throughout the city. It's a pretty big melting pot from what I understand. So there's definitely room for that even on a summer program. I have a question. You said about construction, what have you, and it kind of got the wheels in my head turning. What are the preservation like standards of buildings in Prague? I know you said it's like the old architecture. Did you see a lot of like old churches that were being preserved in a particular way or anything like that? Because you did have classes that were on site in the city. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the architecture and what that kind of practice is like.
Yes. So the building, all original buildings, the inside, the interior, they were very modern, very clean cut, very, very, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it was, that's the only way I can describe it. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah, it's okay.
describe that. So it was just very nice, clean cut, modern, and it was very much me, but you can still feel history and the culture. And it was just all there. And I love that about Prague. I just 100% love that about Prague. But for the other hand, the Charles Bridge, there are these little statues on the Charles Bridge. I'm not sure if some of you guys know what it is. I'm sure you do. I used to bridge.
I don't. I've never been to Prague, and I've heard so much about this Charles Bridge, and I have yet to hear about the statues. I did a little Googling on this myself, waiting for a student to bring this up. But if you can tell us.
Charles Bridge is just a bridge that goes across to the other side of the river, and the castle is on the other side. Along the bridge, they have these statues. So they were just remodeling all of the statues. So when we were walking, some of the statues were covered up, they were working on it, or they were finished. And it was just nice to see how they were keeping up with everything, keeping the city clean, keeping it preserved, and I absolutely love that as well.
Yeah, preserving the history. Can you just tell us day in the life in the city? Did you have classes Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday? I know it works a little different for a summer program. So Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday. What was a day in the life?
I'll try to be as vivid as possible. Classes were only Mondays through Thursdays, which I love. So I had an entire weekend. I had Friday through Sunday off. I could travel wherever I wanted to go. And one weekend I did go to Budapest. We took a train ride there. So fast, so amazing. The views were beautiful along the destination. And so the fact that we were able to have such a long weekend during the summers, it really was a bonus for me. You know, we had classes every day, Monday through Thursdays. But it was just like, okay, it's Friday, it's the weekend. We got our work done, you know. We put ourselves together, like, let's just have a little bit of fun, maybe do some traveling, and that's what we did. So I would wake up on a Monday, I will have a light breakfast. I did have a kitchenette, like little kitchen in our little dorms. So I'll make myself a light breakfast. I'll head over to class, take the tram, head over to class, and I actually studied, had a class in the building at Charles University, and across the street you can literally see the castle from like our room view. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and I'm just, wow. I'm really studying abroad in a different country. I'm seeing this rich history, this rich culture all around me. It was just amazing, and it made learning for me so much fun. I absolutely loved learning in that setting. It was just different. It was fresh. It was inviting. And then after classes, I had an earlier class. So after my class was over, I would wait for my friends, or I'd go to the coffee shop, do my own homework, wait until they would get out. And then after that, we will all go study together somewhere else, have a little break, walk around the city. And Prague, there were so many things to do. You have the river there, you can go hiking, you can go see different museums. There's just so much to do. Every day was just different for me. Aside from going to school in the morning, every day was an adventure. It was either, hey, let's go shopping after school, or hey, let's go to a museum, let's go see the church, let's go see the castle. There was always something to do. And just traveling and just enjoying life and just seeing a new city. And mind you, I also was in a group setting. So there were about 4 or 5 of us at all times. So I want to ensure that we were all safe, we were all together. And that is just the best way to do it, I think.
It is really nice when you're studying abroad that you always will find somebody to do something with, because somebody always wants to go to a museum or check out a new coffee shop that they've found, or just take a stroll along.
Yes.
You know, you'll find somebody who has an interest for something that bites your interest as well, and that's how these connections are made, and that's why they're lasting, because these are experiences that you
I met one of my best friends through all of my excursions and all of my trips. I even visited her like before the pandemic. I went to Boston to go visit her a few times, and we just clicked, and I still talk to her to this day. I seriously, we text each other, we call each other, we Snapchat, everything, and I absolutely love that I made that relationship through AIFS.
Yeah. And Boston to Texas, right? 2 very different subcultures in one country, but like it just, again, 2 different people, and just something that you have in common like this, that you're experiencing together for the first time. It just bonds you for life, guys. It really does. Tell me about weekend trips, day trips, excursions, all of your travels. Tell me about those.
Oh, where do I start? Okay, so before I went to Prague, I went to London for about 3 days. It's another add-on that AIFS does, which I absolutely love. So I went to London for the very first time, Europe for the very first time, in Prague as well. We also had set trips.
Did you have a favorite excursion with AIFS?
We did have a gentleman. His name was Z.
Z.
I believe his name was 𝗟𝗓, if I'm correct. So
It is. I've not met Z, but I feel like I would know him. He's just come so esteemed. I've heard he is like a human encyclopedia in terms of history of Prague culture and everything.
Yes, he knows every little thing. And I would say they're excursions, but they're just like volunteer little excursions. If you want to go, you have to go. If you want to walk with him, you can go walking. If not, like, it was okay. You can do whatever you wanted to do.
Yes.
And on the weekend sometimes, or on a Friday or Tuesday evening, we will walk around with him, like a group of us from AIFS, and he would just talk about Prague and the history about Prague, and it was just really, really fun. And those were my most favorite, and it was just interesting to see life through like an older gentleman versus like a younger generation, and seeing how things are just different, how he understands things versus how we understood things.
Yeah, I want to find someone like that in my own home country. Students, if you have questions for us, for the alumni ambassadors, that's what we're here for. We want to see you guys live out your study abroad experience, your abroad dreams, what have you. And we have all of the players who are a part of that.
I do want to go back and study abroad again with you guys. Like, I'm ready to go back out.
And you'll get that Study Again grant, Carla. We award that to our students that do multiple programs with us. So lots of different scholarships, guys. And you can apply to every single one that we offer. Packing. So what are some things that you pack for a summer semester? Everybody always dreads this question. Summer is not the longevity of a fall or a spring term semester, so you're not as many seasons that you're encountering, but still important to pack the right stuff.
I completely overpacked. I brought 10 pairs of shoes for a 7-week study abroad session, and I was just like, what in the world was I thinking? I wore the same little sneakers almost every day because you do walk a lot, and so I brought a pair of sneakers that were neutral white, and I wore it with everything. I just wish I did not overpack everything. I thought way too hard about packing. I was just thinking a little too hard, like, okay, maybe I'll wear this one day, this the next day, this the other day. But it's all about being comfortable and just the minimal things that you guys may have in your closet, just bring it along with you, because I overpacked and I had no room in my closet. I had to keep things in my suitcase. My drawers were full. If you think you're overpacking, you probably are overpacking.
We do give you guys a packing list too, pre-departure. It's a suggested packing list. You don't have to follow it.
Please follow it. Please follow it.
It's probably not unlikely that you guys will do some shopping. Your style might even change a little bit while you're over there. Maybe you want to fit in with the locals a little bit more. Things are pretty affordable, especially in Prague. I've heard that over and over again, that Prague is a very affordable European city. If you ever have questions about, what's a good amount of spending money to have, we can always get you in touch with one of our alumni ambassadors. They can speak about their experiences. And I would say it helps to make like not an itinerary, but like a goals list, right? Like things I want to see when I'm abroad, places I maybe want to go, and start to kind of pinpoint your budget in that way. Let me ask you this, because this is a question I don't ask often, but once you repatriated home, right? So you probably are going through this emotional experience, tumultuous roller coaster, what have you. So the reverse culture shock, did your appetite change? Did you have trouble eating American food again? What were the things you had withdrawal from? And then what are your coping mechanisms to kind of repatriate and acclimate back to American culture?
American food versus food in Prague was completely different. I did miss the food, and I started eating a lot healthier actually, because I was eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I was trying to keep myself healthy because I was walking a lot, I was going to class, and I did see that my food choices did change to a more healthier lifestyle. I actually like that.
Yeah, any other types of reverse culture shock that you had when you repatriated?
The way people dressed was completely different. I felt like in Prague they're very much more of a conservative dressing. They dress very much so conservatively. They covered themselves like very put together. Like in college out here at Texas Tech, I would go to class in sweats and oversized t-shirt. But in class in Prague, I would dress, business professional, semi-casual. I kind of put myself more together. And it was just really different. And that did change the way that I dressed, actually, believe it or not.
But you feel like you've kind of adopted that Czech style?
Yes, 100%.
Personal favorite question. I know you're ready for this one. So growth.
Oh my gosh.
Professional, academic, personal, your worldview. What is that growth for you? What does that look like?
For me, it was a beautiful thing, It was a beautiful thing for me to just learn about myself a little bit better, to be independent and truly rely on myself. And it was different. It was peaceful, I would walk around the city by myself at one point, and I would just reflect on my life and like where I'm at, who I am, what do I want to do. And when I was in Prague, I also met the U.S. ambassador to Czech Republic. That was completely mind-blowing for me. I did not expect that to happen, but it just happened. And it really put a perspective on my future career and what I would like to do. Every little thing you do along the way when you're studying abroad, who you meet, what you encounter, what you try, what you do like, what you do not like, it's going to change for who you are and what you like to do and whatnot.
I get emotional. Do you think maybe you would want to work internationally in the future? Would you want to be an expat? Was that something you were considering now that you've repatriated?
100%. I would definitely consider it. Maybe for a short-term that I have, like short-term career-wise maybe, but definitely I would love to do something like that in the future and work internationally. Studying abroad gave me that confidence to do so and to make those decisions and to open these new doors and opportunities that were not there before.
And so you have this newfound confidence, you have this new sense of self, and you have this role being an alumni ambassador at your home universities. Can you tell me, what do you say to students? What is the point of encouragement?
Whenever I sit down and talk to other students who are interested in studying abroad, I tell them my experience, how it changed my life, how things were different for me, how I saw the world differently. It's interesting to see how a different country works, what they do, how they do it. And so I'm just like, if not now, then when? If you really want to go for it, if you have a gut feeling about going, or you may be scared to go, or maybe be scared to try it, I would say just go for it. It's just what life is about, is trying new things and putting yourself out there. So just do it. I would just say just do it.